Welcome to the Solid Signal Podcast for the week of July 24th, 2023. Wow, let me tell you, last week's podcast sure was an exciting one, in that I got a lot of comments, both inside my organization and outside. I got a lot of people telling me that I was totally full of garbage for saying that USB was on the outs and that I should just go back to serial ports if I really wanted to disparage USB so much. Geez, you think that USB was somebody's kid or something like that from the venom that was part of so many of these comments. But I love it. Bring it, I say. Bring the comments, good or bad. I love the engagement. I love to hear what you all have to say. But this week I do not think is going to be as controversial a podcast as last week's. Now, I'm hoping that last week's podcast actually drove a couple new subscriptions. And if you are a new subscriber to the Solid Signal Podcast, welcome. And just know that we do a lot of different kinds of topics here at the podcast. It's not always one thing or another. So if you don't like what we're talking about today, come back next week and you might just like it better. It's a whole mix of tutorial stuff and business stuff and personal stuff and stuff that just makes me cranky. So enjoy. Anyway, on to business, as I would say. This week's podcast is about business, and it's about how we can all help each other out in business. It seems to me that this is the time of year that most of the time I end up hearing that our business division, Signal Connect, is just over the top incredibly busy. And yet I want to do my part to make them so much more busier that we can't even handle it. I want us to blow up from how busy we are. And that's kind of the goal here, is to bring up the subject of, if you are considering DIRECTV for your business, this is the perfect time to be doing it. And if you're not considering DIRECTV for your business, here's why you should be. If you're using a streaming box or something like that in your restaurant, in your waiting room, something, any place that the public is, you need to know that you can't be doing that. They will find out and they will shut you down. Because when it comes to displaying streaming content in a public space, most of the streaming providers do not allow it at all. It's a copyright issue, and they're just not equipped to handle the copyright problems that come from showing streaming content in a public space. You have to count things completely differently. You have to make sure that you're accounting for fire code occupancy and a whole bunch of other stuff that honestly a lot of these streamers just aren't interested in. So you shouldn't be doing it. I know you're thinking it's harmless, that they will never find you, but remember, of course, that anytime you stream something, your actual location is going out all over the internet. Even if you're using a VPN, the internet service provider knows that you're going out to that VPN, and they can add up one and one and get two. They'll find you. They absolutely will. It's just as simple as that. So instead, choose satellite television. Why choose satellite television? Well, I'll tell you, because first of all, it's reliable. It's more reliable than cable. It's more reliable than streaming. And in the rare cases when it does go down, it's usually because of weather, and the problem fixes itself by itself in a matter of minutes. Because when you're a business, you don't want to be dealing with all of that nonsense of having to call them and getting them to come out and deal with all that stuff. You just want it to work. Satellite television is a proven winner, especially in waiting rooms, because depending on who it is that you're trying to attract, there's going to be a channel out there that is specifically attractive to that group. There are some folks who like news channels, some on the left, some on the right. There's some folks who want the home and garden television, which honestly is extremely popular in a lot of places. And just getting local TV, even without having to worry about, maintaining your own antenna. It's a great option for you. And you should be considering it. You should be considering DIRECTV for commercial right now. Traditionally, the summer is the time that people sign up for NFL Sunday Ticket as part of their business. And a lot of businesses have been thinking that they can get away from going to DIRECTV for NFL Sunday Ticket. I've got some news for you. I don't know if you're going to consider it good news or bad news, but here's the fact. commercial NFL Sunday Ticket is still only available through DirecTV. You cannot go to YouTube TV for commercial, which is actually pretty good because YouTube TV's prices for Sunday Ticket are for really, really much higher than they were for last year's residential customers. And if they even had offered a commercial package, I'm sure it would be 15 to 20% higher than it was last year. DirecTV is still the right choice for NFL Sunday Ticket. If you are considering it, if you were confused as to where you would get that football package, you're still getting it from DirecTV. If you're a new customer, you will be getting Sunday Ticket and all of the sports packages that you want. You can get them from DirecTV. Remember, you cannot legally stream something like the MLB.TV package or anything like that. You must get it through satellite in order to stay on the right side of the law. Now, not everybody who's listening to this podcast is necessarily a business owner or something like that. And I'm hoping that if you're not a business owner, that you're still listening to the podcast because you're wondering if I'm going to say something incredibly weird. That always happens here at the Solid Signal Podcast, and it's genuinely entertaining. As entertaining, by the way, for me as it is for you. So if you're still listening, well, first of all, thank you. Second of all, let me just say that just because you are not personally a business owner doesn't mean you don't know a business owner. We all know somebody who's owning and operating a small business and just trying to make ends meet the best way they possibly can, keeping costs down, passing as little of those cost increases to the customer as possible. And that's where, again, DirecTV can really make a difference. If you know somebody out there who's running a small business and they're looking for a way to increase customer satisfaction while keeping the impact to the bottom line as low as possible, suggest DirecTV. More importantly, suggest DirecTV from Signal Connect. You know, if you call 1-800-DirecTV as a commercial customer, they're not going to know what to do with you. They will send you somewhere, and hopefully they send you to Signal Connect, but, well, I don't always have the most confidence in the overseas call centers. It's just that simple. I mean, they do the best they can, but they support a lot of products, and they don't always know exactly where they're going. You cannot get commercial DirecTV from calling 1-800-DirecTV. You can only get it from a DirecTV commercial dealer, which means that you can't go to your local AT&T store and get it either. You need somebody who really knows what they're talking about. That's where we come in. Signal Connect is one of the very few DirecTV for Business national accounts dealers. I think there's like 8 of us, something like that, who have been recognized as big enough and comprehensive enough and well-trained enough to take care of every single business in the country, whether they're small or large, whether we're talking about a mom and pop restaurant that's just barely larger than a food truck, or, 5,000 McDonald's or something like that. We can handle it all. And we can handle it for you professionally. We can make sure you get the installation help that you need. A real commercial installer, not just some guy who's an electrician and thinks that they can set up satellite television. We can get you exactly the right stuff, set up by exactly the right people. We will take care of you the way that you want to be taken care of. So if you have a friend who operates a business, please pass along this information. They don't want to be calling 1-800-DirecTV. They do need DirecTV if they want the sports packages, and they want to call us at Signal Connect. How do you call? It's real simple. 888-233-7563 is the number. I'll say it again, 888-233-7563. You can also find it in the description of this video if you are watching on YouTube. It'll also be in the details of any place that you get this podcast on audio. But I'll say it one more time if you haven't had a chance to write it down, 888-233-7563. Let's help our friends in small business out. Small business is the engine that powers our economy. That's what the government would like to tell us, and they tell us over and over again. And you can help that engine run better by making sure that they get the entertainment they need to retain the customers that they've got. Anyway, that's about it for the Solid Signal podcast for this week. As I said, we do a bunch of different topics here at the podcast. If you're brand new, I've noticed we have gotten a lot of new subscribers in the last couple of days. Welcome. And just keep listening week after week, because you're going to find a whole bunch of different things, something that's going to appeal to just about everyone. If you like or enjoy what you're hearing, leave a like, leave a subscribe, leave a comment wherever you get this podcast. Makes me look good to my bosses. And for me, that's what it's all about. Call us at Signal Connect, 888-233-7563. Shop at solidsignal.com, the proud sponsors of this podcast. And I will see you again next week with a whole bunch more fun here at the Solid Signal Podcast.